There's an expression that was coined, I believe, by Hunter S. Thompson that said, when the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. And what is so wonderful about that is that it provides you with this idea that sometimes there are subject matters that are better left to the professionals. When it comes to matters that require a very skeptical, very learned, suspicious review, nobody does it better than we do. Let me move my flag out of the way here. There we go. Nobody does it better than we do. Nobody. Now, of our group, we abide by the theory, the belief that we don't believe anything that is first given to us by mainstream media. Nothing. We believe nothing that is given. Nothing. It doesn't exist. We don't pay any attention to it. That is merely a hint. That is a hint that maybe this is kind of where they want us to go. But that's it. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't speak to anything in any way regarding the truth of what is happening. It's just a kind of an approximation. It's almost like the reverse or inverse bloodhound. If the dog goes this way, go this way. It's to throw you off. Number two, no matter the organization, the better it is, the better it is. When I say the better, the bigger it is, not the better, but the bigger. The more scaredy cat it will be in coming on and telling you that this is a, quote, conspiracy theory. It's remarkable what it will do. They will not say that word. And of course, as I have said from the beginning of time, a conspiracy is merely the organization of a criminal or nefarious group. Conspiracy does not mean crazy. And a conspiracy theory means someone who apparently is positing an idea as to a conspiracy. It doesn't mean what it says it means. I just scanned this morning, and there were these last folks on the brink of some kind of they're kind of the conservative bent, but they're not really there. If you want to learn what is going on, you have to turn off cable. You have to turn off Fox or any of these others, whatever they are. And some are grasping. There's one cable store show, base fledgling. They're just hanging on. I think they're still around. And they start off saying, we're going to be balanced. It's like, you idiot. Nobody wants balanced. We want conjecture. We want exciting. Don't you understand? You're never going to make it. But it's that old school way of thinking. The latest is a kind of a postmortem, a psychological postmortem of this Cybertruck bomber. And everybody is going through this. Now, let me explain something to you before we go through this. Let me see if I don't want to get a jump ahead of it, but I'm very, very excited about this. We have a number of people. One group of people says this. They just don't get it. They look. It doesn't really ground them and say, oh, okay. Another group of people who believes anything the media says, which is nothing. And the other group is the more, dare I say, conspiratorial, for lack of a better word. And of that group, we have different factions. And my favorite is the red-blooded, rock-ribbed, hardcore conspiracist who will jump into everything from Mossad, Five Eyes, MI6, MK Ultra. They throw everything at you because they live for this. We're going to get to this very, very quickly. But first, before we begin, this important and critical word from our critical sponsor. Listen to this. New reports reveal that the average person has 8,000 $674 in credit card debt. Plus, the total average consumer debt is a shocking $104,215 between mortgages, auto loans, student loans, credit cards, and unsecured loans. Unfortunately, without outside assistance, many will continue digging themselves deeper and deeper into the hole of debt. I've advised and counseled friends and clients for years who want to take back control of individual debt about this secret weapon that has helped so many consolidate everything owed into one affordable monthly payment. They even helped negotiate a settlement agreement that will allow you to pay less than the total balance. Listen, they settled over $275 million in debt, and they've helped people become debt-free in an average of 28 months. I've had such an incredible experience referring clients and friends that I wanted to partner with them here and introduce their services to you, my loyal Lionel Nation family. If you want a helping hand to get out of debt, I absolutely, positively, and strenuously recommend booking a free consultation now by going to nodebtwithlionel.com. Look at the address. Once again, that's nodebtwithlionel.com. Use the link I've provided under the title. Listen to me. You can take control and learn how to get out of debt now. Now, let's look at today's piece, okay? And this really requires absolute, very, very important, very, very special critical thinking skills, which most people do not have. They're very, put it this way, it's like almost you're doing a Family Feud and you want to hit that buzzer, and you don't want to hit the buzzer unless you really know something, unless you really believe something. But people can't do that. They'll just hit the buzzer and they'll say something just to say something. And this is very, very difficult. Now, remember, first of all, no matter how smart we are, no matter how great we are, no matter how connected we are, we don't know anything. We are not subject to official reports, eyewitness accounts that don't really make it. We are not able to even remotely adjust everything. We have that great note the other day regarding China and anti-gravitic. This was weird. Anti-gravitic. This was from the Daily Mail. I'm going to put that in my newsletter, which is the most comprehensive. It's the best. So if you don't sign up for that, I don't know what to tell you. That's up to you. And if you don't make sure you're subscribed to Lionel Nation, I don't know what to tell you. So I'll tell you when to be concerned. I always tell clients right now, I'll tell you when to worry. If I don't tell you to worry, don't worry. But when it's time to worry, I'll tell you. But right now, this is all preliminary. Don't worry about this. Nothing to freak out about. This is ordinary. When it gets dangerous, I'll tell you. So if you don't hear from me, everything's fine. And people like that, because whenever you find yourself in any kind of a legal thing, you think, well, what do I do? What do I do? Well, first thing is calm down. This is new to you. It's not new to us. I'll tell you when to worry. Okay. Now, let's read today, shall we? Okay? Remember, there are people who are dying to get into this. You're going to see this, especially later on when you read the comments. MK Ultra. There's no evidence of MK Ultra. Project Bluebeam. That was my favorite during the drones. Project Bluebeam. There's no holograms there. Oh, whatever. MK Ultra. MK Ultra is our go-to. We love that. We can't get enough. We always say MK Ultra. MK Ultra. We just do it. It's almost patellar. False flag, PSYOP, cognitive dissonance, disinformation, what's it called? SIGINT, signal. There's all this ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. Everybody thinks they're an intel officer, because everybody watches this stuff. SEAL Team 6. Everybody's a CIA. Everybody in the CIA now has a podcast. when I was in the CIA and we off this. It's like, why are you telling people this? Well, I was in the mafia. Don't you take an oath of everybody's, because people just want to flood the streaming systems with this expertise, which theoretically, if somebody is telling you, they're not in it. The people who aren't telling you, those are the ones to pay attention to, which is ironic because if they're not telling you, what are you supposed to think? Okay, let's look at what we have here. This is important. Very, very critical. The latest information that people are saying, and this supposedly is the news. Okay. This fellow, the bomber, was a decorated, good conduct medal decorated? What do you mean decorated? Sometimes you just say that. If you're in the military for any amount of time, you're going to get decorated with something. You're going to get some campaign, or maybe it won't be a V for valor, but you'll do it. Any event, he's a decorated special services. This is from the newsletter I'm going to be putting out later. So sign up. I put the link before. He is a special services SF. Don't say Green Beret. The cool people either SF or special forces. Don't say 4-star general. He's a general. Anyway, he's a Green Beret from Colorado Springs, Colorado, and dispatched himself, terminated. Apparently, this is the story. Apparently, I got to be careful because of the algorithms here. Became no more on New Year's Day. Now, stop right there. How do I know this? What do you mean? How do I know it? Well, because they said, no, they said everything was finito. How do I know it wasn't finito before? I don't know. I don't know anything. Can we rule out any kind of autonomous driverless driving? Now, Elon's going to say, no, I'm busy. Can we do this? I don't know. Just put your little chalkboard and just put these questions. How do we know? How do we know what we know? Is there any? Do we have any? First of all, they said that the remains of this individual, or dare I say, charred. They were charred. So do we really know who this person is? I think so. I don't know. We're not there. I haven't seen the reports. I haven't seen the ME's report. The forensic. What do you have? What do you have? What can you show me? I don't know. I don't know what to show you. Could this have been done before? Could he have been drunk? Somebody gets out? I don't know. Do we have literally, honestly, all of the, I don't know. Anyway, remember, every time they give you a fact, ask yourself, how do we know this? In any event, when New Year's Day was the termination of his existence, in a this shocking and publicized incident, his dispatch occurring just before a Tesla Cybertruck explosion. His dispatch occurring before. Now stop right there. How do you do this? How do you do this? Is there some type of a detonation button, like a dead man switch, where you depress it, and once pressure is released, that detonates it? You know what a dead man switch is on a subway? There's this bar. I don't know. I guess I still have it. It's like they always walk with this bar. You put it in, and you have to put your hand. You have to put force on it for the subway to move. If something happens where there's a heart attack or some kind of he is rendered unconscious, any kind of loss of pressure will mean that this bar, this lever, is not activated. Therefore, the subway will stop. It's a dead man's switch. Did he have one of those? I don't know. How do you do this? And then I don't know. So already, I'm not even into the first sentence, and I'm asking questions about this. I don't even know what to tell you. All right. Okay, behind the dramatic nature of the event lies a complex story of personal struggle, combat trauma, and untreated mental health issues. So they say. Remember, every time you read a story, The thing you must say is, that's what they want me to believe. They want me to believe this. They want me to believe this. I think there was a reference of a desert eagle. There's all kinds of things. And remember, these are all good questions, but we don't know. But these are great questions. Always ask yourself, how does this work? Now, his military career, they say, was exemplary. A 5-time recipient of the Bronze Star, including one for valor under fire. He served in numerous global conflicts, including Afghanistan, Ukraine, Tajikistan, Georgia, and Congo. Who knew? Despite his accolades, he privately battled the physical and emotional toll of war, reportedly. He carried the weight of combat that he was responsible. Don't love all these. This is what I'm forced to do. You think you've got it bad with super chats? I gotta go like this. Anyway. Witnessing injuries and deaths of fellow soldiers and the like, experiences that haunted him in the years following his deployments. Now this, let me explain something to you, which is important to note about this. The number of people, the number of men, the number of people who have been in war, who have seen the most horrific of stories, is astronomical. And the number of people who have actually exhibited some type of trauma. By the way, Gary, thank you, my friend. He's a new member. Gary's a new member. Crumb cake for you, Gary. Go right to the front. Those individuals who have been through this exhibit nothing. No PTSD. No. You never hear about this. You never hear about this. I had a guy one time years ago who fixed my computer. He was a special forces feller in Vietnam. And he told me, he said, his whole unit, as far as he knew, he said, there was nothing. And he was actively involved with things. So just, it's weird. Whatever they tell you that a person, for example, a child went through certain things and then later became, serial killer or something. What? Or if they say that they say that the 3 signs of serial killing, or the antecedents are, of course, arson, teasing animals, and bedwetting or enuresis. Well, other kids have done that and worse. They don't do that. By the way, remember that the most preposterous story behind is sold by Sockpuppet, Legacy Media. This not one person on Fox News, those people who are just, remember, they don't want to stink up anything. If they were, put it this way, if truth were X-rated, Fox News would be black and white with black tape and stag films with people wearing black socks. And it's the most sanitized nothing that there is. Pilgrim says, I'm embarrassed. I believe the mainstream media for 45 years. The mainstream media then is not the mainstream media now. The legacy media then, Walter Cronkite, granted it was a little biased, but Pilgrim, it's not what it is now. You shouldn't be embarrassed about anything. So in any event, hang on. Okay. His former girlfriend, Alicia Arrett, a former Army nurse who treated soldiers with traumatic brain injuries, TBIs, at Landstuhl Regional Medical Center in Germany, recalled observing signs of TBI in him as early as 2018. He noted that TBIs often have delayed symptoms, including personality changes, memory loss, and depression. This fellow, I don't want to say his name. I don't want to talk about, I just don't like much. Anyway, he shared with her his struggles with sleepless nights, persistent pain, and reliving the violence of deployments. In text, he described his life as a personal hell and sent photos of a tattoo symbolizing the lives he had apparently taken, an outward mark of his internal torment. Okay, let me stop right there. There are people who exhibit the same thing and don't do this. There are heroin addicts who don't rob stores. There are people who have the most deranged personal fantasies that they never impart upon them. There's a word that deals with people who use, I gotta use this PDF files, which is the lingo for this. And these individuals have apparently desires for the wrong. They don't do anything. So just because I point to something, doesn't mean that is the reason. They're immediately trying to wrap this up with a bow. They're trying to tell you, don't worry, nothing to see here. See, it all makes sense. And despite his struggles, he resisted seeing help for years, fearing that admitting to mental health issues would jeopardize his ability to deploy. Well, yeah, it's a good point. Although recent reports suggest he sought treatment for depression, it appears the support came too late, and she emphasized the stigma within the Special Forces unit where mental health struggles were perceived as a source of weakness. Okay, you see how we're building this up? Okay, they're putting a little bow on it, saying, okay, that's it, nothing to worry about here. Now, on New Year's Day, they say that he meticulously planned his final act, driving from Colorado to Las Vegas. He used a Tesla Cybertruck packed apparently with fireworks and camp fuel to stage an explosion outside the Trump International Hotel. Now, investigators later determined he had moments before the detonation. And this should stop people, I almost use the D word, in their tracks. It's like, what? This is the thing. What? You don't have to be any expert in anything not to say, wait a minute, he did what? Was this posthumous? Did his spirit? Was it some kind of a react? What? How was this? What was the detonation series? What was it? Do we know anything? No. Was it a wire? Was it this? Was it what? What was it? Now, granted, he had this expertise. Remember in the old days, if I were to show you, I don't know, let's say, did you ever see those Las Vegas old casinos, and they would implode them, and you would see this, boop. Remember that one? They would say, look at that, boop, bow, 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 boop. Like they take the old towers and pow, 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 pow. Boop. So squibs, pow, 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 pow. And you've seen this a million times. You've seen this a million times. So that when you see it again, you say, hey, you know what that looks like? You go, what are you, an expert? I don't have to be an expert in this. If you see a woman who's just about to explode, you go, she's pregnant. What are you, a doctor? I don't have to be a doctor. Hey, that smells like onions. What are you, an expert? No, I don't. They want you to suspend common sense. Can you imagine the person in the FBI that sits in an office all day and gets paid to come up with these stories? I don't think it's there. We don't know whose stories these are. Don't you understand, dear friend? We have people in the media who will do this. I've got Fox News, not these people on Fox News. They will take Peter Ducey will go through Karine Jean-Pierre, take everything she said, say, wait a minute, that's not true, and go through all of this and question them. But when it comes to this, nothing. Their common sense is non-existent. Non-existent. It's ridiculous. Absolutely, positively ridiculous. So anyway, we're going through this story, and I'm saying question. Now, the choice of Trump Hotel and the Cybertruck has prompted questions about political motives. However, law enforcement has found no evidence. Well, there you go. Alethea Duncan has found no evidence of animosity toward either Donald Trump or Elon Musk. Instead, his notes urged Americans to rally behind both figures, suggesting his actions were more symbolic than targeted. Okay, let me stop right there. When you've called someone crazy, okay, and you have said that they are crazy, and you've repeated that they are crazy, and you're obviously setting this up, for them to act crazy shouldn't surprise you, okay? They're suggesting maybe that these actions were more symbolic than targeted. Their writings include grievances about weak leadership and societal decline. They always leave some manifesto. You notice that? It's a damnedest thing. The Manson family. I think they wrote something on a wall. They wrote a song, but now this is all new. We always write something. It's post-Unabomber, if you think about it. And that worst one was Luigi's. By the way, nobody's talking about him. You notice that? Because we can only keep one focus on, we only attend to one spinning plate at a time. Now, Tesla engineers aided the investigation by extracting data from the Cybertruck, which confirmed his deliberate route to Las Vegas and excluded the use of vehicle self-driving mode. Okay. Now, I'm not suggesting I don't believe that, but if that's what you say, okay. Why should I believe that? Wouldn't you think that somebody might have a motivation to say, I don't want these people to be like, this is some kind of we don't want people to think that this is some kind of a missile where you fill it up with something and you say, okay, go in there, okay, bye, and it goes off. And so take it cum grano salis, with a grain of salt. Authorities also recovered 2 cell phones, firearms, and additional notes that shed light. And all these notes, a lot of notes. Some of the notes are on the phone that shed light on his planning and mindset. While the media speculated about potential links to a separate New Orleans terrorist attack a day, investigators have ruled out any connection, citing only coincidental. Of course, they ruled it out, so we can say nothing to see here. Now, the tragedy of this situation highlights the silent struggles facing many veterans. Okay, stop this stuff. Let's stop with making the crazy veterans. This is also, you're laying the groundwork for more potential red flag weapons. You're going to say, remember that guy? 99.9999999% of veterans who deploy and have seen combat never do this. Do you know the number of people who have exhibited of the numbers of people who have, veterans who, when they get back? Of that number, do you know the number of people who have never seen action? Let me say this again. Did you hear what I said? The number of people who exhibit some form of PTSD, do you know the number of them who have never seen action, who had PTSD based upon something that has nothing to do with even seeing action? And one of the reasons why, I know nobody wants to hear this. I know nobody wants me to say this. I know nobody is interested in this because it seems almost sacrilegious to say this. But as you can probably understand, the number of people and the quality, but the quality of a lot of the folks in the military today, especially like a friend of mine who said when he was in, I don't know, maybe 40 years ago, like during the Jimmy Carter routine, there were people coming in there who were out of shape. They were using 30-year-old weapons. It was ridiculous. It was a joke. It's a complete and total joke. So the thing you got to ask yourself is, there are a lot of factors for this, and this is where you have to be very careful. There are many, many reasons, correlation and cause, and correlation versus cause. When something causes this, remember, I don't know. Somebody will always point to something. I was bullied. I did this. There are people who are bullied constantly, who don't do anything, not to themselves, not to others. So you can't say, well, if I said to you, why did you do it? It was Wednesday. Well, that's it. He did it because it was Wednesday. No, that's the reason I gave. You can't believe everything I say. Now let's look at some of these things. This is his, I think this was taken off of his phone. Fellow service members, veterans, and all Americans, time to wake up. Big big exclamation points there. We are being led by weak and feckless. Ooh, I like that. Leadership, unlike impuissant, a testicular invertebrate. Anyway, we are being led by weak and feckless leadership who only serve to enrich themselves. Military and vets, move on. DC, starting now. Militias facilitate and augment this activity. By the way, this guy must have used or used spell check, because there's no errors, no spelling errors. Isn't it interesting? I think he used self-spell. I ran it through, and there might be a punctuation. He didn't hyphenate, maybe. Like wake up call, wake up, self-respect. But isn't that odd? I just threw it onto Word, and there's no... I don't think they got this and cleared it up. Anyway, but isn't that odd? Nobody can write today. Nobody that uses spell check. Hell, look at what people are writing here. No disrespect, or no disrespect. Militias facilitate and augment this activity, occupy every major road along Fed buildings and campus of federal Fed buildings by the thousands, hundreds of thousands, lock the highways around town with semis right after everybody gets in. Hold until the purge is complete. Try peaceful means first, but be prepared to fight to get the Dems out of the federal government and military. Does this sound familiar? Look at this. Can you believe this? To get the Dems out of federal government and military by any means necessary, they all must go, and a hard reset. Reset. Where did I hear that reset? Reset? That's Klaus Schwab, the Great Reset. This is World Economic Forum. I don't think he wrote this. They all must go, and hard reset must occur for our country to avoid collapse. Then it says, Master Sergeant, 18Z, 10th Special Forces Group. Right off the bat, I would say, wait a minute. And I would say, do we have any other of his writings? Yes. What was his highest level of education? Great Reset? Feckless? Has he ever used the word feckless? Well, that was his favorite word. Okay. Right off the bat, does this sound to you like that? Nobody writes like this. And I just put this, I copied it into Word. There's not one misspelling. I don't think this is, I don't know if, let me see something. It might be the, late Friday afternoon, Las Vegas Metro released the full letters, which include a line for Americans to rally. And this was released. There was a PDF file, an actual PDF. So this looks like this is what he wrote. And by the way, if you ever do, you do know, you know that when you quote something, and if you write something, it means so true. You use the SIC, S-I-C in brackets after a copied or a quoted word that appears to be erroneous or incorrect, to show that the word is quoted exactly as it stands in the original one. It means a true or so thus. So whenever you're quoting something, always put and there's nothing worse than somebody who quotes. I used to love in motion practice to quote something somebody else wrote and put a sick in there. It's like, you got it wrong, but I'm going to quote it as you wrote it. Of course, I'm the only one who enjoyed this because that's my nature. Listen to this. We are the United States of America. Oh, and by the way, remember what I told you. Democrats always want the enemy to be homegrown. Democrats hate the military. January 6th. Gadsden flag, people with flags, January 6th, insurrection. Look what he's talking about doing. Look at this. Listen to this. To get the Dems. Did you hear what he said? Do everything to get the try peaceful means first, but be prepared to fight to get the Dems out of the federal government and military by any means necessary. See what they're doing? Remember what I told you. When the Democrats are in charge, the bad guys are always homegrown. When the Republicans are in charge, the bad guys are always the foreign types, Al-Qaeda and ISIS, all of these man-made creations. This is what he writes. We are the United States of America, the best country people to ever exist. The best country people to ever exist. Right now, we are terminally ill and headed toward collapse. We are crumbling because of a lack of self-respect, morals. I think he meant morals. Maybe that should have been a sick. Anyway, and respect for others. Greed and gluttony consumed us. The top 1% decided long ago they weren't going to bring everyone else with them. You are cattle to them. Ooh, it sounds like some of your lingo. Cattle, sheep, sheeple. We have strayed from family values. And corrupted our minds. And I'm a prime example of having it all, but it never being enough. A lot of us are just sitting around waiting to... no sunlight, no steps, no fresh air, no hope. Our children are addicted to screens by the age of 2. We are filling our bodies with processed foods. Do you think he's writing this? Our population is too fat to join the military. Yet we are facing a war with China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran before 2030. We must take these actions if we are going to make it past the next few years in one piece. We must end the war in Ukraine with negotiated settlement. Okay. It is the only way. Focus on strength and winning. Masculinity is good, and men must be leaders. Sorry, ladies. Strength is a deterrent, and fear is the product. Weeded out those in our government and military who do not idealize number 2. The income inequality in this country and cost of living is outrageous. Okay, income inequality, it's kind of lefty, kind of a, income. It's kind of a leftist, if you will. The number of homeless on our street is embarrassing and disgusting. Have some pride and take care of this. Stop obsessing over diversity. Okay, now we're back to that. There we go. We are all diverse, and DEI is a cancer. Thankfully, we rejected the DEI candidate and have a real president instead of weekend at Bernie's. We must move on from the culture of weakness and self-enrichment perpetuated by our senior political and military leaders. We are done with the blatant corruption. Our soldiers are done fighting wars without end states or clear objectives. This is not a terrorist attack. It is a wake-up call. Americans only pay attention to spectacles and violence. What better way to get my point across than a stunt with fireworks and explosives? Do you think he would do this? Does this sound right to you? He refers to his action as a stunt. Why did I personally do it now? I needed to cleanse my mind of the brothers I've lost and relieve myself of the burdens of the lives I took. Consider the last sunset of 24, my actions, the end of our sickness, and new chapter of health for our people. Rally around the Trump, Musk, Kennedy, and ride this wave to the highest hegemony for all Americans. Hegemony? The highest hegemony? No. Hegemony is, as you know, hang on a minute. Let me see here. I'm going to get I like the actual words. I don't like to. Hegemony is, and hegemons. Hegemony is the dominance of one group or nation over others in terms of politics, economics, or military power. He wants hegemony? He wants this? Rally around the Trump, Musk, Kennedy, and ride this wave to the highest hegemony for all Americans. Now, what do you think about this? And I've had to analyze some of your stuff over the years, and I don't even know what the hell you're writing. What do you think about this? First and foremost, what would I do? When I bring somebody in there, you want to bring somebody who is a member of the family. When I bring somebody who says, can I have any sample writings? Well, he didn't write. What? He didn't write. Does he have a Facebook account? No. Wait a minute. He doesn't write? Somebody who writes like this is prolific. You don't just decide one day, I'm going to write this out and I'm going to call this a stunt. I'm going to refer to this as a stunt. No. It's self-deprecating. And now, granted, you can say, well, he's crazy. See, the crazy thing will get you only so far. He's crazy. No, think about this. Think about this before you answer. Think about this. Now, let me also tell you one thing right now. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this one more time. I'm going to say it. 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 My friends, I have been trying I've been trying for the longest time to try to I've been trying for the longest time to get people to both understand but not freak people out. And I've talked about Prepare with Lionel forever. And I don't want to be one of these people who says, and the end of the world is coming. Okay. The end of the world is nigh. Not Louis nigh. N-I-G-H. Near. Draw nigh and ye shall be heard. Remember that in the Supreme Court. Draw nigh. I am saying to you, I cannot give you a wake-up call better than this and beg, implore, beseech, entreat, ask that you, for your own good, go to preparewithlionel.com because the 15th is going to be, I think the 15th is they're going to be talking about these. Remember these these dock strikers. The Democrats own the labor units, own unions, Democrats. And this guy, the last guy talks like this. This guy is making a fortune somewhere in Jersey. He's got a house. I mean, this is like, wow. And he's going to do whatever they tell him to do. And if you want to strike, we're going to get a strike. We're talking about drones. We're talking about all kinds of stuff. By the way, the other day, but this guy, he was talking about drones and anti-gravitic stuff. So we'll get to that in a moment. Preparewithlionel.com. Preparewithlionel.com. And it's that simple. And one more time, I'm going to say this. Our good friend, Mike Lindell, they are trying everything in their power to say, it's over. He's hanging on. He is open for business, and we need to make January his biggest sales ever. They're laughing over Rudy Giuliani, whether Rudy has to give up his beloved World Series rings. They're ghoulish. They love to pick over the remains of people who dare to stand up for this country. I know that sounds extreme, but it's true. MyPillow.com, promo code Lionel. Go there right now, my friends. I'm telling you, they are going to, they want Mike Lindell out of business. We're not going to let that happen. Not only that, the products are phenomenal. This isn't charity. All right, enough with that. I told you about this years ago. I used to work for a U.S. senator when I just got out of college. And we had these lectures, these Secret Service types, or I don't know who the hell they were. But they said, this is what you got to look for. Look for these letters. And we would get these all the time, and I was always forwarding them. Big, thick envelopes, red letters printed, and in different colors. And they would write in the margins, meaning they went back. I used to get these, oh my God. And sometimes people, they want to sue. Remember this, the grand jury. Have you heard of these sovereign citizen folks? Have you heard of these people? I don't know what the hell they're talking about. So the first question is simply this. Most people do not want to be self-deprecating regarding their particular cause. Crypto says, ever preposterous story never told, weather modification drones. I think you're speaking to me in a code, my friend. Every preposterous story never told, whether you mean WEATH or weather modification drones. I don't know, but thank you. I don't know what that means. I think you're speaking drones, the distraction. Laudry, do me a favor. Promise me, raise your right hand. Do not say distraction ever again. Promise me. Everybody raise your right hand. Stop it. Lose distraction from your vocabulary. Use it and lose it. Do not use distraction. Why do I say this? You don't have to distract us. We distract ourselves. You don't have to distract anybody. You don't. It's not distraction. It's like stepping on the ant pile. When I grew up in Florida, and those people will tell you this, in the South, they had these fire ant beds, this beautiful, powdery, almost like this wonderful, not silt, but it was beautiful sand that was aerated and ground and dug, and it was like powder. It was beautiful. There were these perfect mounds. And it would be, you see your grass, and there'd be this little. And I hate to do it, but I love to go and step on it and then back off and make sure you get away, because all of a sudden, they came out of nowhere. The drones and the workers, and they were just, ready to go. That's what we do. It's not a distraction. It's to wake us up. It's to come in like in the district, the DI at Paris Island, hitting the waking people up. That's exactly what this is. It is exactly what this is. It's not a distract. You don't have to distract us. But the question that I'm asking is simply this: mental illness. There are so many things. He calls this is not a stunt. It's a wake-up call. This was not a terrorist attack. It was a wake-up call. Why would he say that? This is not what somebody writes. We are all diverse, and DEI is a cancer. Do you think whoever wrote this put it this way? If I told you, do me a favor, write this in a way that sounds as though this is a typical and usual lunatic Trump supporter. Got it? Got it. You understand? Got it. A Trump supporter. Put it in a way, write it so that people can say, these people are crazy. He's for Trump, Kennedy, DEI, men leadership, I guess redistribution of wealth. He kind of throws, there's a few things in there. Not a misspelled word. Might be a few words, but he used spell check. Most probably used spell check. Does that sound right to you? And there were some words that weren't hyphenated, but that really threw me off. Now, also, we find these questions, and right off the bat, if I sat on those morning shows, these stupid Fox News, but though, especially the weekend, oh my God, this is their backbench. This isn't their A team. Anyway, if I said, do any of you numbnuts ever understand that? Have you ever seen a fire? Yeah. You ever seen a fire? Did you ever see that fire? Look at that fire. Look at this white. Did you see the amount of damage that was done on some of these weapons that were found? Did you see that? Yeah. And yet this document somehow, why would you take a passport with you? I don't understand. Is it? Because he's crazy. Is there anything about this that makes you people ever ask any question? Is there anything? Do you ever say, wait a minute, it doesn't make any sense? This doesn't make any sense. Sometimes things make sense. When somebody's really psychotic, yeah, okay, they're going to say things and they heard voices and the aliens are coming or whatever it is. But he wasn't psychotic. And also the first guy, the ISIS dude, remember when they were walking through his house? This is where he lived. There's a Quran. It was almost like a studio set. Is there anything? And by the way, did you see this Lashandra or Alethea, whatever her name is, the FBI? She's the assistant special agent in charge. What's the matter with you people? Ann Kirkpatrick, she ran over people in her car. This is crazy. You've got LaToya, who, by the way, is looking at federal. Whenever you have somebody who is facing investigations, they are most compromisable. Play along with us and we'll make your problems go away. Okay. Play along with us and okay. There's not one person, there is not one suspicious anything in the world of Fox News or Newsmax or anything, unless it's Karine Jean-Pierre. Then they go crazy. Then they're out of their minds, wondering and questioning and asking, what about this? What about that? What about that? You've got to ask yourself this question. Be a detective. Ask yourself these questions. If you were, Mrs. L does she talked to a woman. Oh, you've got to see this woman here. And so her stories are incredible. Lynn's Warriors. People who sometimes their kids will either sometimes they'll be kidnapped or they'll do terrible things, and the first thing they'll ask them is, you're going to ask, did you notice a change in personality? Not just a change of personality, but did you notice something that was strange? This story does not make sense. This is a man, they want us to believe that this is a man who believes he loves Trump and he doesn't like DEI, so he decides to take two people. He wants to take, of all the things, he's got to take an EV to go rent it, you got to stop, you got to charge this thing. Why doesn't he get a Bronco or something that's got whatever it is? Maybe that's something that's not as well constructed. Do your routine, with your fireworks or whatever it is. Just drive there. He's got to stop and charge it. By the way, if ever, you can see where he stops and charges. And boy, let me also tell you something. When you get those Tesla trucks, they know everything about you, where you're going, what they're probably, are they listening? I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. Hybrids are great, by the way. A little electricity, a little, to something that charges the battery as you're kind of like an alternator. That's great. That's fantastic. Nothing wrong with that. A little bit of gas, a little bit of battery, but not 100% electricity. No way. No. In any event, doesn't make any sense. Now, the bottom line is 3 days we're done. The first dude, now we're learning people in New Orleans are going to be suing the city and others for basically taking these bollards down because they could have prevented this from happening. Look, you got to ask yourself a question. Does this case make sense to you? No. They're going to want you to suspend your common sense. I've been doing this forever. There are some things that just kind of make sense. There are some things that make sense. I don't go out of my way always looking for something that is, most crime, most things make sense. There's not a lot of, there might be something, you might have a problem with motives sometimes, but not really. 99.9999% of all people who've been in the military are fine. 99.999% of all people who've seen action, they may have some problems. They may have alcoholism rates and broken marriages, but this is an extreme. I mentioned to you this before about serial killers. You can go into the worst prison there, Chino, Leavenworth, Attica, the Clinton used to be Dannemora. The worst people, the worst. And you can say, show me your serial killer wing. We don't have a serial killer wing. Why? We don't have any serial killers. We mean one. You've got everything else. You've got a collection of the worst forms of humanity. Even these people are rare. This is the point I'm trying to make. This is what fascinates me. Why is it so rare? We think they're prolific, but they're not. You look at this thing. There is so much. And if we had a news organization, by the way, this is why Fox News and all these are going away. They're going to be great for your grandma. Fox News is like USA Today. It's that thing that kind of placates. It's like when you're on vacation. Hey, they gave us at the hotel that's outside. There's a hotel. Okay. Hey, did you see the hotel? Yeah, okay. Oh, look, they gave us a free cable at the airport. CNN at the airport. That's what it is. It's like that penny saver or stuff that you're just used to where you don't know anything. I am telling you right now, you've got to ask yourself this question. You are going to be destroyed. There are people right now. I go to X first thing in the morning, and I've got all this great stuff. Town Hall has a great one. The Daily Mail had this thing about the China. I don't know. Nobody's talking about the China and the drones or where the hell this comes from. This is the facts. This is it. Someone writes, I'm trying to make, again, sometimes, because you don't have all the facts and full story, it doesn't make sense. Question mark? Okay. What does that mean? Because you don't have all the facts and full story, it doesn't make sense? Is that what you mean? Okay. I don't know what that means. What are you saying? When somebody gives you a fact, when somebody gives you a fact, and somebody makes you aware of the fact. Look at this. This is brand new from the Daily Mail. Chilling details emerge about the rare explosives New Orleans terrorists plan to use. Terrorists plan to use a very rare explosive compound as part of his New Year's Day at a time. Federal investigators have said the compound found in 2 of the homemade IEDs has never been used before in a terror attack in the U.S. or Europe. Remember, this is ISIS. Remember, they're the targeted bad guys. The explosives were found on Bourbon Street. One was discovered inside a cooler, but neither detonated. It is unclear what caused the bombs to malfunction, as the transmitter Jabbar planned to use to set off the explosives was also found in his truck. Now, do we have they included the precursors? This is fascinating. Do we have any information as to what was other than the ISIS flag, what is it? And by the way, did you ever hear of Turo rental cars where you could rent cars to Turo? I never heard of it. ISIS-inspired terrorist set his luxury New Orleans Airbnb on fire in an attempt to conceal evidence. Okay. Following the tragedy, the image of which appears to be a flagpole on the back of Jabbar's truck, a photo is taken. Do we know what was the purpose of this? Do we know what was oh, here we go. Along with the cheap furniture he abandoned in the trailer was a Quran, prayer mats, and a book on Islamic banking and finance. That book, The Art of RF, Riba-Free Islamic Banking and Finance, purports to take a modern American approach to incorporating Islamic financial principles. Okay, so here's the question. You tell me, detectives, what's this story? What is this about? What? Evan Webb says you are the only one, Lionel. You are not the only one, Lionel. I am not the only one. What? Again, I spent half my time reading your wonderful message saying, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? Ever preposterous story never told. Oh, weather modification. Thank you on this. Sparky says, here we go. Sparky says, free Greenland from Danish tyranny. Thank you so much. You can always know that whenever we're talking about something, this is so appreciated, no matter what the subject is, whether free Greenland from Danish tyranny. Thank you. Thank you. Can you imagine somebody doing a postmortem of a Sparky event? He always talked about Danish tyranny. Aha! Aha! So here's what I'm saying. And remember this. They give you the subject matter. They give you the subject. I can ask anything I want. They're saying, this is what this guy did, and here's the information we're giving. Okay, fine. Well, why did he do that? I don't know. That doesn't make sense. Well, why do you think he did it? Excuse me, it's your story. It's not my story. You see how this thing works? You see how this thing works? So ask yourself this question. I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, okay. Now, I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying false flag. I'm not saying any of this stuff. Wait a minute. Cat says, strange how much information we've received about these events and still nothing about crooks. Yes. Isn't that interesting also? This selective fascination. Isn't it interesting? We don't really know anything about this. I'm not even going to mention this feller's name, or the level of investigation into that. You see, we have to use these cases, believe it or not, as part of I told you my dream. One of my dreams is to have a summer class a camp where we take kids and people and folks and we bring them on board and we ask them a very simple question. We give them these stories and we say, what do you notice about the story that doesn't make any sense? What do you know about this story that doesn't make any sense? Why? For those of you who are young enough or old enough to remember or have studied anything involving our friends at regarding the Kennedy matter, why was it that the day before this event, there was our friend Lee Harvey Oswald walking around, free play for Cuba? Free play for Cuba? What are you talking about? What was that about? Walking around, hey, hand off, free play or hands off or whatever the hell it was called. It was almost like saying, that's the guy. Right before he was on TV shows. He was on a local radio show. What's this free? Is it free play or hands free? I think free play for Cuba or something like that. Right next to Guy Banish, right next to that Intel kind of a collective group right there. He was just, waving. Yeah, here I am. Right before, here I am. Would you do that? Does that make sense? You're going to do something as important as the dispatch of a president, and you're going to call attention to this? Does that make sense to you? Sparky says, instead of things becoming clearer over time, these two New Year's incidents seem even more suspicious. Well, the best one is. Now, what I would do is this, Sparky. I would have, if I did it even more, I would have references to Howard Stern and processed foods. I would take remember, I would always want the motivation of them to be the idealization or the proliferation or the promotion of my enemies. I would have in the Trump or in the truck, I would have the art of the deal, Melania love letters, make America great flags. Think about this. He went throughout. He mentioned DEI in a letter that was spell checked. There's not one word misspelled. Might have been wrongly used. That is amazing. He used spell check. He had to have. There's no way you can write that without making a mistake here and there. And I don't know if this file, PDF was filed. And I want to know also about the drones in China. Now, look, here's the thing. Here is the thing, which is the most important. And I think Kat says it best. When it comes to the other feller, how about there is a guy on a roof and they go, there he is. Remember the Lorraine Motel? Remember where James Earl Ray supposedly was, like right across, like right there. And they're like, there's a pointing, hey, over there. Remember that? Jesse Jackson, they would say, he's right there. It was the most ridiculous thing. By the way, I think Jesse Jackson must be either on his last leg or because there is no mention of him whatsoever. In any event. So we're talking about this. Now, remember something. You don't have to do a lot to distract us. What we're not talking about, remember, is border stuff. Let me also tell you this. And remember what I'm telling you. Okay? Remember this. When Democrats are involved, when they're running the show, the bad guys are always the patriots, the constitutional people. They're the ones. They're the ones. Those are the ones. These are the people that are always the bad guys are the homegrown. Timothy McVeigh, Randall Weaver, Ruby Ridge. You know what I mean? Kaczynski to an extent. But the idea is that they're the bad guys. Sparky says that would be in Pennsylvania walked around the area prior to shooting as if he were told to be conspicuous. Yes, it's one of those things. You see, here's the thing, Sparky. We don't know whether to attribute people to being stupid or whether somebody. But anybody who goes through the effort to try to do something like that at least wants some form of concealment. And the question you're going to ask yourself is simply this. Number one. Let me go back to what I'm saying. When the Democrats are in charge, the bad guys are always the evil people. The enemy is always homegrown flag wavers and that sort of thing. When the Republicans are in charge, the conservatives, the bad guys are always ISIS and foreign and that sort of thing. That's the way it's always been. This has kind of been a unique kind of a switch. Let's go back to this fellow in Butler. When you ask yourself, are you telling me? Now, when this person, you do understand, and I think we all understand this, and there's nothing at all even remotely, difficult to grasp about this, but I will say it nonetheless. The first thing you do, if ever you're doing anything along this, is how do I get away? Am I going to be a martyr? If I'm a martyr, I don't care about it. If I'm going to be some type of, okay, then I've eliminated that one little part of it. That's what makes, during the days, in the old days of the Intifada on buses and things like that, and those were, it's very difficult. There's nothing you can do to stop this because the person has told you, has evinced a complete disinclination for self-protection. That's number one. Number two, did this guy in Butler think that? No. You see, if we ever had a country with the attention span that would go further, we could do a lot. We could say, for example, we went through and we talked to every friend this fellow had. We took a year, we did a kind of like an intellectual or a psychological postmortem. We've done all of this. We've done everything to address this particular thing here. And we have come to the realization, we have come to the understanding that nothing about this person in any way is consistent with what happened then. To put somebody in that position where you know you're not going to do your deed, shimmy on down the drain pipe, get off of the roof, and get back in your car and go home. This is going to be your last day on earth. Is there anything indicating that this kind of behavior was anything? But see, we'll do maybe 3 days. Remember my 3-day rule. 3 days, we get bored of this unless there's a new fact. But if the facts stop, we're done. The drones in New Jersey, done. By the way, last night, we see drones here all the time. Now, I don't know if they're... Remember something. Drones at night serve no purpose. Normally, the cameras are not that great, but we have completely lost all interest in this whatsoever. That's all. That's all. So, my friends, this is important. Look at this. MK Ultra. They love this MK Ultra. You love this. What makes you think this is MK Ultra versus crazy? What? MK Ultra, probably the two best instances ever. Mark David Chapman and Sirhan Sirhan. Absolutely. Why? What did Sirhan say? I don't even remember this. I don't even remember what happened. Spandex says, never forget until the headline fades away. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep doing this. I think it's fascinating. And I want the world to understand something. I want the world of Fox News and everybody else to recognize that we are going to decide when we're done with this, not you. Sparky says, can we conclude from the two New Year's incidents that all people who drive electric vehicles are terrorists? Yes. Yes. That's a lot of work. Those are rather expensive. Matless X says it's MK Ultra because of the Fort Bragg connections. No. What Fort Bragg connection? MK Ultra, I told you before. Sirhan, Mark David Chapman. No. MK Ultra is the idea of taking somebody and using them and applying some form of mind control. What is the mind control? MK Ultra conditioning shampoo. That's funny. That will be a great. Have you ever looked at the study of or looked at what the story of this is? Have you ever looked at what this is? And I did a piece. I've done it a million times on this. This was a human experimentation program designed by the CIA. And remember who the first individual was. I forget his name. To develop procedures and identify drugs that could be used during interrogations to weaken individuals and force confessions through brainwashing, menticide, and the like. Remember, MK Ultra is a CIA cryptonym. It's a code word, and it doesn't mean it's not necessarily Manchurian candidate. It doesn't work that way. Read the history of this. It's been around for a long time. People think it means, and I can't say this enough, but people think it means that there are folks who are somehow made to do something similar to Manchurian candidate, or that's not really it. That's not what MK Ultra is. That's sort of it, but not really. So please make sure it does not become your go-to for everything. Make sure that's not. It's not necessarily. And by the way, always say, I find it interesting that. Don't say it's MK Ultra because of Fort Bragg. Makes you sound like a nut. What you should say is, what I find interesting is that there is that military connection there. And I wonder if that plays any role whatsoever. See, that always sounds better. It sounds like you're being very, very, very careful. Like this message. Let me ask you a question. When's the last time you checked your devices for malware? Malware attacks have increased 643% since 2020, with approximately 10 million personal and corporate devices compromised with data stealing malware in just the last year alone. Additionally, 19.8% of computers face at least one malware attack annually. This emphasizes the critical need for individual users to protect themselves, their devices, and their data. This is why I use today's sponsor, Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro, and I love the peace of mind it gives me. Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro is an award-winning antivirus with real-time protection, malware removal, ad blocking, scheduled scans, multi-device protection, and more that stops malicious downloads in their tracks. Without Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro, I would risk my finances, banking details, personal data, and more getting into the hands of cyber criminals. Thanks again to Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro for sponsoring today's extravaganza. And do yourself a favor and sign up for a free 7-day free trial, of Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro during their early Black Friday sale happening now, and get up to 75% off. Yes, you heard that. Up to 75% off. Only at virtualshield.com/Lionel. Once again, that's virtualshield.com/Lionel. All right, my friends. Well, listen, I want everybody to have a great day. Thank you for allowing me to start a little early. I've got an appointment this morning I've got to attend to. But in the meantime, always ask yourself the question very, very simply, whether things make sense. Sparky says, doesn't necessarily need to be full-blown MK Ultra. Could be government operatives on social media suggesting to someone contemplating self-deletion. Why don't you really make it count? Yeah. I think it would be even more important. By the way, our good friend Sabertron Toys gifted 5 Lionel Nation memberships. Thank you for that, sir. That could very well be. It could very well be simple. Or, remember, I don't want to say Occam's razor, but I want the easiest thing possible. I just want to take somebody who has a great background that I can have fun with, and I can use perhaps in a way that does a wonderful way of creating the narrative of such. Matless X says, outside of a few leaks, have they fully released the Nashville school whatever manifesto? No, you know why, right? Because of the particular demographic of the assailant. See how that works? What is the goal of that? If this is not, remember, there's a possibility that there could be nothing, that this poor soul or this guy thought, I'm going to do my thing. Have a Doog 2024, Mr. and Mrs. L. Thank you, Sabertron. Thank you for that. The question I have is very simply this. This is important. It could obviously be just what it appears to be. But if it weren't, and this was something contrived, don't you think you would want to go out of your way to make sure that the message that is conveyed is something that people say, aha, it's because, for him to use the word hegemony, no. Feckless, no. Hegemony, you don't normally use this positively. To mention DEI, no. This is meant, obviously, or this note, put it this way, it's consistent and with no typos. No. This is made, or put it this way, this is consistent with somebody who's trying to make this person to be the prototypical classical right-wing Trump lunatic. And nobody, I guarantee you, nobody on Fox News or Newsmax or anything. By the way, did you see Matt Gaetz' new eye look? What is the matter with him? Dear God. By the way, keep an eye on the new one to watch, Ted Cruz's daughter. She might have been the one who looked a little good. Her whole thing is she's bored. Keep an eye on this. These little side note kind of deals. And for those who are really paying attention, watch what's happening with Meghan and Harry. I'm not going to bring this up to you because I love this stuff. I absolutely love it. All right, dear friends, have a great and a glorious day. Thank you so much to Sabertron. Thank you so much to Matrix, to Matless X, our good friend Sparky, Spandex, Cat, Pilgrim Media, Crypto Domini, Ricky Stansky, and our new member, Gary. Have a great day, my friends. We'll see you tonight at 7 p.m. Don't forget, subscribe to Lynn's Warriors, Lionel Legal, and make sure you subscribe here at Lionel Nation. Until then, remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Da-da.